Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug podcast. I'm Aaron Nix. It's Thursday or Friday when you're watching this or listening to this, which means it's the State of Wrestling address, which means we're back in our wonderful sports bar. And the Wrestle Plug Sports Bar has many news topics to speak of this week. It's been a very busy week in terms of wrestling. Some good, some bad, some, quite frankly, a little bit morbid. But joining me to discuss the wrestling news is, as always, the Maple Leaf Magician, the Diabetic Duke of Canada, Kyle Wilkinson.
Pleasure to be here as always. I'm very thirsty, and look at this multitude of selections we have.
We're all thirsty, mate, when we're around you, let's be honest.
Fuck you. Get out of here.
Oh, you. Right, let's get right into it, mate. I'm sure you've seen the big news that's come out of this week, and that is, of course, that is obviously depending on Yahoo actually updating instead of being cunts. WWE legend Paul White, aka The Big Show, has signed with AEW. AEW has announced that WWE legend Big Show has signed a long-term deal with the company after 22 years with WWE. Big Show, now known by his real name of Paul White, will serve as a commentator on AEW's newest show, AEW Dark Elevation, which is due to be, I believe, televised on a Monday evening via YouTube. White will also have an extensive role within AEW and will be making a return to the ring. Thoughts on the Big Show signing for AEW? That young startup, the Big Show.
When I saw this, I thought it was like a joke. I thought it was like kayfabe news or some shit, just like throwing it up there but making it look really good. And then you look into it and you go, this is a real thing. And of all of the names on the WWE roster, I've heard this on the other like wrestling news things that I watch and shit. Big Show's name was never on the list of names where I was like, hey, maybe he'll jump. Maybe he'll jump over. Why not? But now he is. And I mean, he's got a wealth of experience. He'll definitely be very useful to the up and coming guys. Maybe help some of the bigger guys do some things because, he's been a giant his entire life. But I don't know. I mean, it's cool, I guess, but I don't think I really care that much.
I don't care. What annoys me about it is when they said he'll be making a return to the ring, he shouldn't be wrestling at all. And that right there completely, for me, nullifies AEW fans who are obviously incredibly toxic and incredibly stupid at the best of times. Not all of them, but quite a large amount of them. They're so vehemently behind the product and they think this is amazing. And yet they're the same people who are out here every week saying, oh, our company, we build our own homegrown talents. Do you, though? Do
you really?
Think about that statement and tell me who your homegrown talents are, because let's be honest, the majority of them were built elsewhere. You can't tell me that anyone in the elite is a homegrown talent. Darby Allin, you could make that argument, absolutely has become a much bigger star than he was anywhere else. But overall, it's the insincerity of it and the hypocrisy of it. They've brought in so many ex-WWE guys and girls, and here's another one, and albeit a very good one. And does he add experience backstage? Yes, he does. But do you know who else does? Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. You have a plethora. You've got Dean Malenko back there, Jerry Lynn. You've got more than enough old-timers, legends of the game backstage. You need to be focused more on building fresh, new talent instead of bringing in more and more WWE guys. This just feels like WCW Plus right now. And we're going to talk about Dynamite a little bit on this podcast as well, because there are a couple of things which really will lend themselves well to that argument. But to be honest, the highlight of this whole thing for me was when Mick Foley actually tweeted out why he thought that Paul White had left. He basically said, congratulations. And then he said, I assume that the big guy felt like he didn't have anything left to do in WWE, which is why he went to AEW. And when he tagged AEW, he actually tagged a Scottish MP of Annabelle.
That's awkward.
Yeah, this woman who is very strong on the need for Scottish independence in politics over here in Britain. And this led to just an absolute plethora of incredible memes. The internet did its job. People putting Annabelle's face over the top of the Miz, capturing the Scottish Independent Championship, stuff like that. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. And Mick Foley, bless his heart, apologised to her. And she bless her heart, as most great Scottish people do. I love the Scots. She found the funny side of it and said, "Hey, thanks for the free publicity. I don't get much." So, yeah, it was kind of sweet actually. That I think she's got something like a few thousand followers. Mick Foley's got 1.9 million. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, I must admit, I raised an eyebrow when I saw the tweet, but I didn't really delve into it, so I couldn't be asked. I didn't realize he tagged a Scottish MP, but do I think this is good for the company? I think it helps. I think you'll probably remember as well, because you've been on this podcast for a while now. I actually said that the Big Show should transition to commentary because I actually think he's very entertaining on a microphone. So from that perspective, I actually think that's quite a good thing. But I don't want to see him wrestling. And I sure as hell don't want to see him getting in a ring with other big guys like Lance Archer and whatnot, because they don't need it right now. We need to focus on them being Leviathans. And also, if you put Paul White in the ring with, say, Lance Archer or Wardlow or Jake Hager, all of a sudden they look very small by comparison. And you almost give away a little bit the kind of enjoyment and the mysterious nature of their size. You ruin people's suspension of disbelief. So... not really that fast. Anything else you want to add, mate?
No, like you said, I'm interested on the commentary stuff. I mean, I don't watch Dark. I've never watched Dark, but I know I should because Taz and Excalibur are great together from all accounts. And who's Big Show doing commentary with on Elevation, I think it's called?
It's called Elevation. It'll be on a Monday night. It'd be interesting to see whether it runs directly opposite WWE Raw or not, because they've obviously noticed. I do love this thing of, oh yeah, we're not in competition. Yeah, it'll be run on a Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern on AEW's YouTube channel. I don't know yet whether it'll just be 1 hour or not. For me, I don't know who he's going to be alongside. You would assume maybe Excalibur, Taz. Not really fussed, to be honest. There's not really anyone else. I don't want to see Tony Schiavone on another broadcast.
Oh God.
I have no idea, to be honest. I have zero interest. For me, AEW Dark is fucking boring. It's not that it doesn't have good wrestlers. The problem is they always put their main event stars against their jobbers. You always know 9 times out of 10 who's going to win. Very rarely is there any form of upset or intrigue or real furthering of storylines. It is a completely redundant show. What it is just an opportunity for people to see a really raw, bare bones developmental with a few main event roster guys on there who, for some reason, don't find themselves on Dynamite from week to week, because they seem to have this obsession with making sure that everybody gets their go, because everybody deserves to be a star. Yay! Everyone should be a champion. We're all inclusive. Fuck off. So boring. You earn the opportunity to be great. You're not just handed it, and that's what pisses me off most about AEW and their management. That and the fact that Tony Khan every single week is just becoming more and more like a famous British sex offender. It's very alarming. This is, by the way, uncut and uncensored, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you're offended, you might want to turn it off.
I mean, if you don't know that by now, I mean...
yeah, then you never, ever will know. Sticking with AEW and NXT, actually, rather briefly, because it doesn't mean anything to us, but it's always a bit of a news topic. NXT actually drew its best viewership of the year last night. It was a fantastic show. It didn't beat AEW in the ratings. Nobody cares. It never does, because ultimately people would rather watch the all-inclusive bullshit than the actual better wrestling show. But yeah, AEW Dynamite and NXT both up this week. AEW Dynamite drew 831,000 viewers and NXT had 734,000. Both of them are up, of course, from last week's shows. So yeah, great. Load of figures and numbers here that I don't care about, if I'm being honest.
Cool. Over 1.5 million people watching wrestling on a Wednesday. Cool. That's all we need to know.
Well, yeah, it's really funny as well, because AEW fans take to Twitter now. I've noticed this. When it first started, AEW fans were like, we don't care about ratings. But now that they're winning regularly, of course they do. And one of the things that they spend a lot of time doing, particularly if you just go on today and put in AEW ratings, you'll see an army of people saying, yeah, we want to get blah, blah, blah. What you don't realize actually is that this is good for wrestling as a whole, that many people watch NXT as well as your shitty product. So, can't really complain. Some very sad news, actually. Somebody you might recognize, somebody I definitely recognize from NWA, Jocephus. also known as Question Mark, sadly passed away. The NWA star. He was best known for his little run with Aaron Stevens, who people will recognize as Damien Sandow. When they did the karate gimmick, he was wearing the question mask, the question mark mask, and for a little while he was hitting on Thunder Rosa, which I thought was very sweet. It was just fun, to be honest. His real name was Joseph Hudson. He passed away from an undiagnosed medical issue. Some people are suggesting it might have been a brain aneurysm. Former NWA Southern Heavyweight Champion, best known for his work with Aaron Stevens, like I said, in NWA Power. He spent more than 10 years with the NWA. He was very entertaining, very funny. I remember him singing the national anthem of, I believe it was Mongolia. I can't remember what it was. It was just ridiculous, the gimmick. But him and Stevens had wild on-screen chemistry. Both were so hysterical. And from all accounts, from everybody who's come out and spoken about him today, guys like James Storm, who credit him helping his career so much, and so many of the guys who worked in NWA Power, he seemed to be one of the more funnier aspects of wrestling. And he got the hilarious entertainment side of wrestling really well in a company which, let's be honest, is famous for its very hard-hitting, no-nonsense brand of wrestling. So, yeah, there's not really much you can say about it other than you're going to miss a guy like that, because he was very, very funny. And I remember audibly laughing my arse off every time I watched these segments with him and Aaron Stevens. I thought they were actually gold.
I can't say I have much exposure to him, but I never really watched Power when it was a thing. But it's definitely something, just seeing a lot of the heartfelt sentiments coming from Aaron Stevens himself, like Billy Corgan, who I'm a big fan of just because I love the Smashing Pumpkins, and the fact that the Smashing Pumpkins lead singer that just blows my mind. But just seeing all these heartfelt messages, it's definitely something I'd like to check out, and I suggest anyone who is watching this to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Not really a great way to transition away from that, but obviously our thoughts and prayers with his family, and hopefully he's resting well and he can join that incredible class of wrestlers up in the sky who are whipping each other's asses at the moment. Did you recognize a few of the names that were announced this past Wednesday? WWE announced its biggest ever draft class. It's picked up quite a number of new signees. Ty Valkyrie is probably one that will stand out to most people. She is officially signed with WWE NXT. Oh, thank Jesus. The fear that she might end up going to AEW was alarming, to say the very least. But I imagine the allure of her husband being there, and also the opportunity to achieve an incredible dream, is right there. But somebody that I actually wanted to touch upon was a young man by the name of Parker Boudreaux. I don't know if you've seen this guy. He is a tank. Just follow the Wrestle Plug, actually. Thank you very much for the follow, sir. People are hailing him as the next Brock Lesnar. He is
I've seen him
as the first Parker Boudreaux. He is a fucking unit. I am very excited about this kid. I really am. He took to Twitter, obviously, and made a lot of statements, which I find interesting. He calls himself the destroyer of gods and big box office Boudreaux, which I'm excited about. He's already got the entertainment side of things down, which I'm very excited about. Former college football standout, huge Leviathan of a man, 6'4". Also, Bronson Recksteiner, who some people might recognize from the second name. He's Rick Steiner's son. Has also signed with WWE. Very excited to see what he does, because obviously the Steiners, particularly Rick, very famous for that amateur wrestling tradition, very old school. That obviously, the famous State of Michigan University alumni and all that kind of stuff. They used to come out, they were very old school amateur until Scott went a little bit Barney with the steroids. But obviously gave us some of the greatest promos of all time, so we forgive him for this nonsense. But a big class, and a lot of them are fantastic. And it kind of makes my point, because am I a pro WWE guy? No. Do I think WWE overall has a better product than AEW? Absolutely. I think Impact has a better product, actually, than AEW. I'm just saying. Anything that has Josh Alexander is big money. But for me, this is a real statement of intent, and this shows you the difference. This week, AEW signed Paul White, the Big Show. A guy who is, with all due respect, well past his prime, and frankly was pissing everybody off in WWE for the last 10 years because he was just coming out and, annoying people and getting in the way of decent runs and rivalries. WWE, on the flip side, their Performance Center announced all these incredible wrestlers they've picked up. And there's some other names in there as well, some great women's names as well. And, you know, it just feels like they really are investing in the future of wrestling. And obviously, you know, Valkyrie is somebody who, you know, he's quite seasoned, but at the same time, there's so much untapped potential in what she can do for NXT. And I love this class. I think there's some great wrestlers here. There's some great talent. And this already bolsters what is an amazing looking NXT brand.
Yeah, I am so excited for Valkyrie in NXT. Just like I've seen her a few times at Destiny shows or like driving all the way to go to a weekend of Impact tapings. Like she's so good. She's so entertaining. I think coming to NXT is definitely the better choice, I guess you could say. Again, having your husband there definitely helps a little bit, but I'm so excited for this. This big guy you're talking about, I don't remember his name, even though you've said it like twice. The monster. I've seen the picture of him. He is a unit, like you say. He's fucking.
He does look a bit like Lesnar, which I understand is why people draw the comparisons. But I also agree with him when he says that, you know what, I am the first of me, not somebody else. And I like that because there are too many wrestlers who are like, I want to be the next so-and-so. No, be the best and the first of you.
I think we've had this talk on this show before. People are like, oh, AJ is like the next Shawn Michaels. I'm like, why can't they just be themselves? Why do you always need to make comparisons?
Because it makes things easier for people. You know, comparisons are there for a reason. Don't get me wrong, some comparisons ultimately are quite useful. Some of them not so much, if I'm being honest. But I understand why. You know, you look at the AEW NXT thing, we're guilty of it too. We make comparisons. I just don't think when it comes to actual talents, you should make too many comparisons. But moving on in the news, there's a lot of shuffling about. Did you see the latest signee of Ring of Honor, sir?
I don't believe I did.
EC3 has signed with Ring of Honor. Ring of
Honor
warning that EC3 has signed a new contract with the company. Terms will not reveal, but we will keep you updated. Following his WWE departure in 2020, along with other COVID-19 budget cuts, EC3 returned to Impact Wrestling for a brief run. He then made his Ring of Honor debut this week. I actually watched it. It was fucking awesome. And he's set to face Jay Briscoe at the Final Battle pay-per-view in December. Sorry, he then made his Ring of Honor debut and was set to face Jay Briscoe at the Final Battle pay-per-view in December, but the match was pulled after EC3 tested positive for COVID-19. He's now back in the company, and this week he confronted Jay Briscoe. So we're going to be getting a Jay Briscoe EC3 feud at some point.
I'm into that.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. Ring of Honor, I think it's time we dipped our toe into the magical pond that is Ring of Honor, because it looks like they've really got their shit together right now. And apparently, if you put all the ratings together and, you know, who watches their stuff, whether it be on demand or on TV, they're not that far off of AEW's viewership. So, you know, I feel like this is another company that could really do with people's support. But EC3 going there is only going to bolster that, and he's going to bring eyeballs on that because he's such a world-class professional.
He could be the Ring of Honor champion by the end of the year.
Yeah,
honestly. Like the stuff he did in Impact with Moose, like he was only there for like 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, and now Moose is somehow like he's elevated himself, and now he's a recognized world champion because Impact reactivated the TNA Heavyweight Championship. If anybody missed that, like they have 2 world champions right now, and I think Moose got that boost because of the work he did with EC3. When I thought that was just fantastic. EC3 comes in, does the job, goes off to get more ripped, get like a 70,000 pack. I don't know. He has muscles that I didn't even know existed. And now he's in Ring of Honor fighting one of the Briscoes. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, there's not much else I can add to that. It makes me excited about their programming. I saw an image of it, a still image on Monday, which I believe is when they show the Ring of Honor show. By the way, you can watch Ring of Honor's weekly show for free on the Fight TV app, regardless of where you are in the world. They actually air it for free. You don't have to subscribe or anything. All you got to do is have just download Fight TV, and you can watch Ring of Honor on there completely free. So I highly recommend people do that because it is pretty awesome. In fact, I'm a little bit surprised actually that Ring of Honor hasn't pushed to have their product put on YouTube a little bit more as well, because I feel like they would benefit from something like that. But yeah, no, good stuff. Just delving into the small bits of news now. Apparently JBL believes that WWE should build their company around Bobby Lashley going forward. What do you think about that, sir?
I mean, the concept of I was gonna say he's No, I don't think he's young enough at this point. I think maybe, in 2007, 2008, when he was there originally, I think it could have been possible. But I think it's too late to do that now. You can still pull the trigger. You can still let him win the belt next week. I'd be okay with that. I think that would be hella sweet. But to build the entire company around him now, I don't see it. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I love Bobby Lashley, and I feel like now's the time. Give him his WWE title run. I don't think he's going to win it on Raw next week, even though he's in the big main event, obviously against The Miz. I believe that's when Drew McIntyre comes back and Claymore kicks him, and then that sets up their rivalry at Fastlane. I just don't think it makes sense to have the WWE title change hands on Raw, especially 2 weeks after a cash-in and a pay-per-view. But yeah, it's a case of, do I want the company to be built around a 44-year-old? No. Do I want Bobby Lashley to get his moment in the sun, however, and be taken seriously as a credible and viable WWE champion? Absolutely. On the flip side of things, a little bit of random WWE news. Mike Yoda, you might recognize him, obviously. The name obviously jumps out to a lot of people, former WWE referee. I was very interested about this. He spoke about John Cena and The Rock because he was the referee for their match at WrestleMania 28. Apparently, he revealed that the Great One himself, The Rock, handpicked him to officiate his comeback match. It was kind of cool. Rock set me up to be the referee for that match when he came back with Cena. I was like, awesome. Rock wanted me to do it. Cool. Recalls Mike Chioda on WrestlingNews.co. Chioda went on to explain why Cena was unhappy to put over The Rock, especially after carrying the company for nearly a decade. I think Cena had a little bit of a problem doing the job because he's Cena carrying the torch for the last 10 years at that time. He was busting his ass day in and day out. Here comes The Rock, back after so many years of being in Hollywood, and he's got to job out to The Rock, ? Chioda continued, there was a little heat there. I think there was a little dissension, but you have to go where the money goes. So they put Rock over, and I was happy about that. I felt bad for John in a way.
I mean,
Yoda likes to moan now. I don't even notice this. He spends a lot of time whinging now that he's out of regular work.
I mean, like, on the one hand, you can understand it. Like, Cena being upset, he has to put The Rock over. But it doesn't matter because he got his win back and the WWE Championship the next year. Fuck off, John. You're done. It's fine. You're good. The Rock tore I think, one of his ab muscles during that. Like, just get over it. You're fine. You're a 16-time world champion. Okay? You're good.
Yeah, not much else I can add to that. I just thought it was worth a mention because obviously, John Cena, not too far after that, started disappearing from the company quite regularly, and then obviously long term, like he has now.
Off to Hollywood. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Like, let's not act like this is a thing that wrestling fans, right? Because the majority of us are, let's be honest, reprobates and poor. There's this kind of assumption that wrestlers should relate to us, but if someone comes knocking at your door, Mr. Wilkinson, at your current job and says, you get paid so-and-so at your current job, we're going to give you 3 times that amount to do the same job here, you're going to take that money, aren't you? You're not going to be like, oh, loyalty. Loyalty doesn't mean fucking jack shit. I'm sorry, it doesn't, especially not in the wrestling business. And the fact that even this far along, wrestling fans still think that loyalty is a thing in wrestling, sorry, but it ain't. I can tell you from extremely personal issues that I've had with different promoters, etc., and following up people for interviews or even wrestling myself. Wrestling is it's a shitty environment. It is. There's some amazing people in it, but it's still run majoritarily by very poor people, as far as I'm concerned. So it is what it is. This is something I cannot wait to talk about. You're going to love this. Have you seen what Austin Aries has been up to the last couple of days?
Oh, fuck. No.
This is my favourite bit, and this is the last thing I'm probably going to talk about. I'll have a quick drift around the dirt sheet, see if there's anything else worth talking about while you have at this. Pro wrestling veteran Austin Aries is receiving some criticism for his recent comments on the COVID-19 pandemic and an autograph signing he had in New York this past weekend. Aries, who has made headlines for COVID-related controversies in the past, appeared at the Wrestling Universe store in Queens, New York this past Sunday. Promoter Jerry Sorrentino noted on Facebook before the signing that Aries was encouraging fans to drop their masks for the photos and that Aries would not be wearing a mask of his own. A message from Austin Aries: if you are coming to the Wrestling Universe, he will not not be wearing a mask for photos, and he urges you all to drop your mask for the photo op and take it off. Come down to say hello from 3 to 5 p.m., Sorrentino wrote. Aries appeared for the signing on Sunday and ended up selling autographed tinfoil hats to fans who came to see him. Aries then took to Instagram to address the criticism of COVID-19 masks. He noted that the autographed tinfoil hats were a hit at the signing. His post includes a photo of two fans wearing the tinfoil on their head. It's quite a good photo, actually. I mean, if you're going to get a ridiculous photo, this is definitely one of the better ones you could get. The new Austin Aries autographed tinfoil hats were a hit today at my signing in NY, Aries wrote on Instagram. I was pleasantly surprised by the conversations I had this weekend on the current state of affairs. I spoke with many who strongly dislike and don't agree with what's going on with the COVIDs and see the agenda for what it is. Plenty of relief when they could lower their face diaper while visiting and taking pictures. Maybe there's hope for humanity after all. So let's pick a rabbit hole to jump down. Have you heard of adrenochrome? HAARP? Maybe. HAARP, which I believe is a company in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Austin Aries apparently has a very differing opinion to a lot of people when it comes to COVID-19 and immunity.
Oh, you mean the rest of the fucking world?
I must admit, I popped when I saw it because it is just classic lunatic wrestler.
Like, I know he was an anti-masker. Like, I knew most of this, but this world will not get better if this continues to happen. Straight up, like, do I like wearing my mask all the time? Sure. I've got one that's got the Flash logo on it. It's pretty sick. Do I want to wear it all the fucking time? God, no, I don't. I'm fat and I do physical labor for a living. It's hard to fucking breathe in these things. And this guy's like, no, I'm not wearing one, and I need you to drop yours for our picture so we can both look super pretty. No. Fucking, I think being a vegan is driving him mad. I don't shame people for being a vegan. That's fine. But this guy is trying to get like the vegan superpowers from Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and it's not working.
I haven't seen
because
that,
he's going.
I don't get a reference.
Oh, it's all based in Toronto in Canada. It's fantastic. You should give it a watch. But it's also got Michael Cera in it. I'm not sure if you're a huge Michael Cera fan, but he's the main protagonist. He was in Superbad opposite Jonah Hill. He's like the skinny white kid. I'll show you at some point.
I probably would recognize him. I'm not good with pop culture and celebrities, as people know. I'm an old man who lives in the country. I like some stuff. Yeah, no, I've just never seen Scott Pilgrim. It doesn't really appeal to me. I've seen a trailer for it. So.
That's fair. it's Canadian, so I pop real hard
Did
for
you
it.
pick the trailer, by the way, for the for that I posted in the Wrestle Plug group chat? Army of the Dead,
sure I have.
Batista.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Give me I'm so excited for that. I know people are like, oh, it's going to be shit zombie. Dude, I don't care. It's got Batista and a gigantic automatic rifle shooting the undead. Just give me what I want.
That's all I need.
If he grabs somebody at some point and screams, give me what I want, I will literally get my dick out in the cinema. I am so excited for this film. I won't be because it's on Netflix, but I will still get my dick out from the comfort of my own home. It's going to be fucking awesome.
Can he spinebuster a zombie and just have it explode?
I told you,
just
mate.
pick it up, slam, just...
I told you, mate, I want a point. He's like fucking mowing people down and somebody goes, Dave, where are you going? And he just turns around and goes, I'll walk alone.
I need the song to play too. As soon as he says it, I need him to just turn around, like do like a slow walk, and it just starts. Can we talk about this instead of Austin Aries being a fucking twat who I would kill with my bare hands and feel his life ebb out through my hands as I strangle him?
Hey, you offering out Austin Aries on our podcast? That is great fun. See, I am notoriously well known for liking conspiracy theories. Liking them. Big difference, ladies and gentlemen. Do I subscribe to them? Not really. There's a couple where I think, yeah, fair enough. Do I believe that people who have more money want to control people who don't? Absolutely. But that kind of goes without saying. Have a look at your government. But... you know, do I believe this is a great hoax and I should wear my tinfoil hat and I think the government is monitoring me, blah, blah, blah. The thing about conspiracy theories is there's always a tiny, tiny sliver of truth in there, even if it's just the 1% of the 99% of bullshit. And the problem is that most people who listen to these conspiracy theories or believe them hold on to that 1%. And I absolutely believe that you should hold on to the truth, but try and find more truth elsewhere. You know, I wouldn't sift through a dog turd looking for that tiny sliver of corn, which actually will not make me feel ill if I wash it down. I'd rather just go and buy a tin of corn, innit? You know, that's how I look at conspiracy theories. Are they fun and entertaining? Absolutely. Do I enjoy it when people just, you know, go fucking off the rails like AJ Styles and try and convince people the earth is flat? Absolutely. I just see the fun side of it. I think it's funny. I have absolutely no doubt with the sheer level of conspiracy theories that are out there that some of them are probably true. Just because there's so many of them, you can't tell me every single thing is false. But Austin Aries has always been well known for winding people up and upsetting people. And like you say, like, I don't know if you heard his podcast when he was on, I think it was either Talk Is Jericho or it might have actually been Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling. And he spent a lot of time talking about how people shouldn't eat certain foods and, you know, stuff like that. And there was a lot of scientific basis behind that. The problem with this is he's got no scientific basis behind that. He's been on the message boards. He's been on the forums. He hasn't wrestled nearly enough lately. And he's been poking around on Tor or whatever browser they're using to, you know, surf the dark web, and he's found himself some Matrix-like web forum full of lunatics, hasn't he? You know, I respect that everybody's entitled to a different opinion, but when your opinion is throwing itself right back in the face of science and also measures that are put in place to hopefully improve our quality of living, I have to question whether you are mentally all there or not. I do.
Yeah, it's like I don't understand it. Like, just he's telling people to do, you know, exactly the opposite of what the World Health Organization, you know, the smartest people collection of doctors and scientists are telling you to do. Is he a doctor? Is he a scientist? Is he some sort of microbiologist and he got all this in 2 days and I didn't know? Because I don't fucking think so, son.
An honorary degree.
Yeah, I'll have an honorary degree sticking my foot up his ass. I'm sure if we actually met face to face, I'd fucking die. But I'd fight for science.
He's short though, isn't he? I'll have a go. Fuck it. I'll wrestle Austin Aries. Why not? I'm 6'4", I'm 350 pounds. I fancy my chances. Why not? Let's see if I can deal with the COVID-idiot that is him.
It's just ignorance, and that is a very big problem for me. I won't have that.
Ignorance in the United States? Get out of here.
Ignorant vegans? That's a whole new level, bro. Those have never happened before.
Careful. We'll have all the fucking... Can I ask this, right? I don't get this. So I had some vegan bacon the other day, and I actually thought it was quite good for what it was. However, the big problem for me is that if you want to go vegan, why would you have foods that represent or substitute meat? Surely if you're that against meat, you know, it just kind of shows for me a weird level of hypocrisy, because it's like, you should eat meat, but you should eat this that looks like meat because then it'll make you feel comfortable about not eating meat. No, if you want me to be uncomfortable about eating meat, you should feel uncomfortable about eating something that is a meat substitute. Go and eat some fucking lettuce. There are so many things you can do with vegan food, actually. You know, I make vegan curries all the time and I like them and I think they're great. You know, using things like butternut squash and stuff like that, just natural ingredients. So whatever, I'm getting on my high horse. Tell you what, while we're here, we got a little bit of time. What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, the fact that Kurt Cobain didn't kill himself and that his wife Courtney Love did it. That's my absolute favorite one, and I believe that to the day I die.
So we're going with ones we actually believe. I mean, my favorite ones that I obviously don't believe, I love the idea that there's a reptilian race that lives underground that will invade soon. I think that's fucking phenomenal.
I like
love
that
those
one.
YouTube videos of the eyes flickering. I think that's great. I love the one about Michelle Obama apparently secretly being a man. I just think that's fucking hilarious. Like, there's so many of them. I'm trying to think of one where I truly believe. Like, I don't want to get into something too heavy because it might upset some of our audience, and particularly with my background. But the one that always stuck with me, because I studied it at university for my dissertation and actually did my own kind of like coverage for it, almost like as a tribute to the victims, was 9/11. And I'm always fascinated by it. And I had to cover a lot of the conspiracy theories for that. And I was really intrigued by evidence that was brought forward and different things. I know that superstar Billy Graham, I think he was getting involved in it. I think it it was him. No, it's Jesse Ventura, isn't it? Jesse Ventura is the one. Sorry, Billy Graham. Just label you in there with the rest of the lunatics. I remember Jesse Ventura went on Piers Morgan's show, who is a very popular. Well, he was a very popular host over here. Not many people like him. One thing I do like about Piers Morgan is he will tell it how it is, even if it upsets people. But he went on a Piers Morgan show and showed some evidence of how one of the towers didn't come down as soon as the news had reported it, and all these different things. And if you take it at face value, you think, oh, that is suspicious. Maybe somebody could actually clear that up for me, and I'm sure there's a normal explanation for it. But ultimately, when almost 4,000 people die, you have to just appreciate that it's a great loss of life, and the tragedy should come first, not what Billy Joe in his basement thinks. So yeah,
the classic 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah, I mean the South Park episodes, to be fair, were hilarious. Particularly just so offensive, but it's so funny. But I don't know. I mean, I see this stuff with Austin Aries, I automatically just laugh now. I imagine when I was a much more serious young man who didn't see the happy side of anything, I would have just been like, outraged by the shit. But now I just kind of laugh and I think, well, you entertain me, so thanks for that. He's not the only one either. I don't know if you've seen it. Val Venus has had plenty to say on social media.
Yeah, his Twitter game is just as bad as Marty Jannetty's Facebook game.
Oh my God, yeah, those two need to retire from all social media immediately. But yeah, no, I don't know. I just think it's quite funny. The Kurt Cobain one does interest me. I need to look into that a little bit more. I'm fascinated by that. The other one, of course, is Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan as well. That's quite amusing to me. Just the idea that Kevin Sullivan, framed Chris Benoit. The problem with most of these conspiracy theories is they center around subjects which are actually quite morbid and miserable, don't they? So I don't want to bring the tone down too much. So we'll move on, I guess. Something I wanted to actually touch on, and we'll do it last. Fuck it. Cody Rhodes came out recently. I don't know if you saw this in an interview, and he said that he'd actually be up for the idea of a WWE versus AEW crossover event. No idea, but he came out with it. So I thought I'd afford you, as the end to this podcast, I thought I'd afford you the opportunity, Mr. Wilkinson, to tell me what are your dream WWE versus AEW matchups.
Okay. I mean, I'd love to see Hikaru Shida and Io Shirai. I think that would be a fucking barn burner. I don't know if they ever wrestled in Stardom or anything, but that'd be fucking
Tanvir's frantically looking through the files. I can hear him from here. Like...
I mean, I still think Omega and Rollins would be all right. Just at least from the social media stuff that happened either last year or the end of 2019.
I'd actually quite like to see Jon Moxley versus Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns,
Oh, yeah.
On a violent, coming back as a more violent, aggressive version of who he is. A lot of people have said that, like, when it comes to things like the Impact crossover, they want to see Su Yung versus Abaddon or something like that. But I don't feel like I've seen enough of Abaddon to know whether she's worthy of being in a
terrifying
rivalry. Yeah, she's terrifying to look at. By the way, shout out to Abaddon as well, because she got a lot of grief from people like Al Snow and Jim Cornette for her body, and I actually think she looks fantastic. She's got a beautiful body, and she's worked really hard to get her weight down. I never understand shit like that. Like, you can clearly see the person where it's like Kevin Owens, isn't it? Jim Cornette in particular. I don't hate Jim Cornette. I actually listen to his podcast. I find a lot of it interesting, but I, like many people, I'm always astounded by some of the fucking shit that comes out of his mouth. And when he says things like, yeah, Kevin Owens is too fat to be a wrestler. Kevin Owens is one of the best wrestlers in the world, mate. Like, don't be stupid. That's just flagrantly wrong in every sense. But WWE versus AEW, Bobby Lashley versus Lance Archer, be quite nice. Yeah, I know, right? Meaty Hostler. Buy a Meaty Hoss t-shirt. There you go, they're up on the screen. I just...
Lucha Brothers and the Usos?
Huh?
Lucha Brothers and the Usos?
Yeah.
That's saucy, isn't it?
We'll have that. And we'll also have Proud and Powerful versus the Usos as well, which I think is the perfect gangster tag team match of all time. I think that could truly be the pinnacle of tag team wrestling. I actually would really like to see someone like MJF come back and face an ultra baby face of WWE. I think he could really garner some spectacular heat in WWE, particularly if he's allowed to go full throttle. I'd like to see Adam Cole kick Kenny Omega's face clean off.
Hey, Adam Cole will come back from the dead and do it, man. I tell you.
Well, I mean, as well, you know, that ties in nicely because obviously Adam Cole was booted out of the Bullet Club by Kenny Omega in favor of Marty Scurll, which obviously long term hasn't worked out quite the way they probably would have planned. Yeah, I'd like to, as a dumb match, I'd like to see Otis versus Orange Cassidy just to see Otis crush him. I feel like Otis has got a lot more going on. From a purist standpoint, I'd like to see Daniel Bryan versus main event Pac as well. I think that's got money written all over it. So, yeah, there is some good matchups there. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is proof actually that I actually don't mind AEW. I think there's some good stars there. I just think the booking is so woeful. Just as a side, I did say that would be the last subject, but I would be remiss if I didn't discuss Dynamite quickly because I haven't covered it for the YouTube channel. So fuck it, we'll cover Dynamite now. Have you seen anything at all from Dynamite?
Other than like the Shaq signing, the Big Show signing, which now people are thinking we're going to get Shaq and Big Show, and I care even less about it now than I did then.
They teased that back at Mania, didn't they? Many movies ago. I
haven't.
So Dynamite last night was a clusterfuck, as you would expect. One thing that really stood out to me: MJF and Chris Jericho, allegedly, of course, because they didn't in real life, battered Papa Buck, excuse me, the Young Bucks' dad. They beat the shit out of him. Stage, and he had what looked to be ketchup on his face. It was terrible. It was so bad. The acting as well. He was like this, going, oh, oh. He reminded me of Jean-Claude Van Damme at the end of Bloodsport when he's blind. He's going, oh. It was so random. And then they throw him against the truck, and he doesn't know how to take a bump, bless his heart. So he just goes, and sticks, and then just goes. And MJF's like, oh, for fuck's sake, and pulls him off because he's like, this is just embarrassing. And what made it even more funny was the fact that you can't suspend your disbelief because the Bucks just kind of like jog backstage. We're coming for you, Daddy. We're coming. Like, no, like, you motherfucker. How dare you put your hands on my father? It's like, oh, cool, man. We'll just jog backstage. It's so fucking carny. Sting and Darby Allin got a measure of revenge. Apparently, that young nobody that I don't recognize is Taz's son, who's part of Taz's gang. He's called Hook. Red Hook section, maybe? No idea. What a shit name for a fucking talent, Hook. But yeah, he got dragged out in a body bag by Sting, and then 61-year-old Sting whipped Brian Cage's ass. I'm sorry, AEW fans, because, hey, the main event was fucking fantastic. Lance Archer versus Rey Fenix. Why can't you just have more matches like that and get rid of all the riffraff? By the way, why is the show opening with Jon Moxley versus Ryan Nemeth, the Hollywood hunk, who people might recognize, I believe, as Dolph Ziggler's much more retarded-looking younger brother? And it lasted about 3 minutes. Oh, by the way, yeah, Jake Hager versus Brandon Cutler. Why? Why are these scrubs on Dynamite? Holy shit, man. NXT last night had Xia Li versus Kacy Catanzaro, right? It had Zoe Stark against Io Shirai. It had fucking grizzled young veterans versus Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. And it had Santos Escobar versus Karrion Kross. On the flip side of things, we've got Brandon Cutler, Ryan Nemeth. These people are stars. Congratulations on giving jobs to people who don't deserve to be stars. Fuck off. Got no time for it. Why is Jon Moxley having a somewhat competitive 3-minute match with Ryan Nemeth? Ryan Nemeth should not have got any offense in on him. It's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
He should have been like Paradigm Shift or Death Rider, whatever the fuck the finisher's called now, like 8 times. Just like hit him with the DDT, but don't let go of the arms. Just stand back up and keep it and do it like 17 times. Yeah. He is a former world champion and like the longest reigning up until today, where I think Hikaru Shida is now the longest reigning champion ever. And yeah, I know that. Come at me, bros. But like,
at least she deserves to be champion.
Yeah, and half the time they put her on dark because they can't find time to put women on the main roster show. They sure can't.
Champion. She's the only, for me, person who deserves to be legitimized as a champion in that company, and she's the one who's never on TV.
Yeah.
Aye. They did have Nida Rose versus Britt Baker, which is all right. What else did they have? Nothing. I don't care. It was There was so much. Oh, they did have Kenny Omega in a workshop, and Alex Marvez was again harassed. You'd think this guy would learn, right? Every week they do this dumb hoy segment where Don Callis and Kenny Omega are doing something, and Alex Marvez is the journalist trying to find out what they're up to. And this time round, he's in a workshop designing the devices for the, get this, I'm sure you've heard about this, the exploding barbed wire death match that they're going to have at Revolution, which is obviously a very easy way to write John Moxley out so he can go and be a dad. We're not stupid. We all know what they're up to. He can go away for a few months. We have to put up with Kenny Omega as champion until Hangman Page eventually dethrones him. By the way, Hangman Page took on one half of Private Party. Whatever.
Remember when he was challenging Chris Jericho to be the inaugural AEW World Champion?
Yeah,
Well,
and
days gone by.
Now it says a lot, actually, that the one thing I do like in AEW is the Dark Order and Hangman Page's Man Crush Affair thing going on. I actually think that's kind of funny and sweet. John Silver's really grown on me a lot, as has Alex Reynolds, actually. I just love the Dark Order. And by the way, shout out to Anna Jay, who's going to be out for 6 to 12 months with shoulder surgery. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. That woman is beautiful and so talented, and you know, it's just shitty. However, her and Taynara Conti are going to start doing a Twitch channel. So, at the risk of sounding a little bit crass, those are two very, very, very beautiful people. But yeah, no, I thought AEW Dynamite stunk. I did. And it does frustrate me because I saw people saying, yeah, AEW's got this, this, and this. It's so much better than whatever they've got going on in WWE NXT. I was like, how can you make a qualified statement like that if you haven't bothered to actually see what NXT has got? And don't fucking sit there and tell me that Karrion Kross versus Santos Escobar isn't as good as John Moxley versus Ryan Nemeth, or the Varsity Blondes versus insert flippy tag team here. There's nothing wrong with a lot of the guys who work at AEW. The problem is that they haven't worked out who are stars and who aren't. That's one of the biggest problems I think I have with Dynamite, is they don't seem to be able to discern between talent, stars, and, enhancement talents. There's nothing wrong with being a jobber or an enhancement talent, but that seems to be an offensive term in AEW. Also, I don't understand why Matt Hardy can somehow get one over on Dark Order and wreck half of them by himself when he's a fat old man. So many things I can poke loopholes in. By the way, why is Sting coming out the snow? And also, if you're going to say, oh my God, the temperature's dropped, it's Sting! I can see the snow machines on top of the Titantron. But, come on, little things. You can't put a bit of plastic in the way. It's just the little things. It frustrates the crap out of me. It really does. It's a poor show. There are some great things on it. Like I said, main event, fantastic. Lance Archer being pushed as this main eventer. He's been in the main event, I think, for the last 3 weeks. That is good shit. Ray Phoenix is one of the best luchadors, if not, for me, the best athletic luchador in the world, period. I think he makes the Young Bucks look fucking boring and bland. But there's just too much crap. I'm not going to sift through 2 hours to see the 20 minutes that I do like. I already do that at Raw, and that's depressing enough. So, yeah. Anything you want to add, mate?
No, just I heard something a bit on the Twitter timeline today that New Japan was potentially looking at bringing Marty Scurll back.
Ooh.
I think I got it from, I think it was Cultaholic, just to give them the credit for it, assume. But I watch their news videos every morning. I find it funny. But the way they were describing it, we all know Marty Scurll was let go from Ring of Honor, and the allegations laid against him. And they were explaining it like Japanese culture is very like male dominated. And a lot of times when there's problems between a man and a woman, they'll shift the blame towards the woman because that's just kind of how the culture is. So Marty having these allegations, New Japan management don't really care because it could be a potential money-making opportunity. I don't know this for sure. It's just, stuff I heard. So I was just wondering how you would react if Marty Scurll walked out on like New Japan Strong or something.
I had a really, I'm going to preface this by the point of, obviously, I don't have to suffer in any way like the victims had. I had spoken quite honestly and openly about speaking out and how I'd been a victim of sexual abuse when I was a kid, but it had nothing to do with the wrestling industry. So I understand to a certain degree, not from the perspective of a woman, and I would never claim to. Marty Scurll was genuinely someone I considered a friend and somebody who I love dearly. As you'll know, I loved Marty Scurll. Like, he was my favorite wrestler in the world for a long time. And obviously, I distanced myself from him and my fandom for him, and got rid of all my T-shirts, as so many people did. And is that depressing? Yes, but ultimately, not nearly as depressing as what it must have been to go through the issues that probably the young girl went through and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm not here to piss off lawyers by going into full depth with that. I believe the idea is that he had basically been inappropriate or sexually advances with someone who would be considered a minor, even though I believe they were legal of age still. He was like, 26, 27, and she was like 16. So just no. But I think if he turned up in NJPW... See, I'd like to think that we live in a society where you can educate and rehabilitate to a point, because I don't think he's a murderer and I don't think he's a rapist per se. But obviously, that's not for me to say. I know the court of public opinion is Marty Scurll is a rapist because he had sex with a young girl, whether it was consensual or not. Because of her age, it can still be classified as rape. That's absolutely fine. I'm not here to debate that, and everyone is entitled to be as upset or not as upset as they. I'm one of these people who believes that everyone is allowed to be offended. It's just a case of whether you force that offensive nature onto other people. That's when it becomes an issue to me. This is a company that has continued to push Will Ospreay despite allegations, but Will Ospreay's allegations are a lot less impactful than this. I'm sorry, but there are levels to this. So, me personally, if I was in NJPW shoes, especially as Ring of Honor just let him go, I wouldn't bother. But like you say, I think it's very evident, particularly after speaking out, with the way that they push forward Will Ospreay as if he'd not done anything. And, it's quite obvious that the Japanese culture is one that kind of just thinks, yeah, whatever, we'll just push that to the side. That's a Western world worry, and we act differently over here. And I suppose if people are going to get fucking infuriated about this, they better be infuriated about every single country and culture outside of the West that operates in a different fashion, because I've been to many countries, like Saudi Arabia, for instance, where oh, mama. They got very different cultures, particularly when it comes to respect and decency of women. Obviously, being of Middle Eastern descent and living in a household where women were very much second-class citizens was actually one of the big reasons why I consider myself such a big feminist as I got older, because I was just so shocked and almost traumatized by what I saw in terms of treatment, not only to myself, but also to women in my household. So, and that's not to say everyone does that. And I don't want people to use that as an excuse to be like, yeah, bloody Muslims, blah, 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 because I've got two amazing little sisters who I love dearly, who are both Muslim, who are incredible, incredible people who I genuinely think have an opportunity to change our world and the way that people perceive it and view it. But right now, I don't think Marty Scurll should be in New Japan. I don't think so. There hasn't been a real clarification or forgiveness or, rehabilitation for what happened. It's almost like a case of he's just kind of sauntered off into the background and he's probably living off of residuals or whatever. The one time I did see him was in that image with Ricochet. New Year, which cannot have been good for Ricochet. I don't understand why you thought that was a good idea to post that photo in the first place. Not to mention the fact that there's a lot of issues surrounding his partner, Casey Catanzaro. Apparently, she's been flaunting a lot of COVID things, not taking that seriously, and not going full Austin Aries, but not wearing masks and things like that. So there's so much grey area here, and it's not up to me to decide, really.
I'm sorry, knock the mic down, but we're good.
That's right. And I did wonder what was going on now. I thought you'd fallen into the bath or something.
Oh yeah, I'm just actually recording this on the shitter right now, guys. Just thought you should.
That'd be amazing if you just like rocked up at a podcast and like you were just like naked in the bath, like yeah. I wonder how many how many retweets would we need to get us to do a podcast in the bath? I reckon. How many retweets? I'll tell you what, or t-shirt sales or whatever. How many do you reckon you would need? Like, what would it take to get Carl Wilkinson to do a podcast in the bath? And of course, I'll join you by doing a podcast in my bath as well.
I mean, ooh.
I like how we just went from possible sex offences and things like that to us doing a podcast in a bath. Speaks volumes about our lack of credibility, doesn't it?
Oh, this is where I have to decide my worth on Twitter.
Yeah, that's terrifying, isn't it?
Hey, well, you guys suggest down below how many you think I would need to get myself naked in the tub.
Yeah, Yeah, I know that there's quite a few people who check in with our podcast, guys that I train with and stuff like that. Let us know. Do you know what? We'll leave it there. State of Wrestling Address has already been a bit of a banger. I've enjoyed it. It's always great to talk about wrestling with you, Mr. Wilkinson. Hopefully, it will continue to be a regular weekly appearance. Just as a little quick aside for you guys, whether you're watching, whether you're listening, this weekend we will be dropping a fresh wrestling interview. He will be swinging by finally. You've heard his name checked on this podcast quite a bit, but fuck it. You can wait and see the video. But tomorrow, we will be dropping a video to reveal who will be the latest interview. He is a professional wrestler, ladies and gentlemen. He's an independent wrestler from the UK. He's a young man, and he's somebody that I know and have a great deal of admiration and respect for. He's very much a little brother to me, and he will be on the podcast this weekend. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Oh, the suspense.
Oh, boy.
Oh boy, that is not canon. Carl Wilkinson, thank you very much for joining us for the State of Wrestling Address.
Pleasure as always, buddy. Always glad to be here.
It has been quite the time. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Sacrifice by Impact Wrestling is coming up very, very soon as well. We'll be covering that. So let us know what you think is going down at the big event. And obviously, we'll be covering everything from NXT to Dynamite and beyond via the YouTube channel and the podcast. So keep yourself tuned in. And don't forget also, as a final aside, we've now got, I believe, 260 odd subscribers. We're getting very close to 300, which means free tea. So who wants a free wrestling tea? You want one? All you have to do is get us to 300 subs. And for every 100 subs, we will give away something wrestling related. Every 100 without fail, regardless of how much we grow, unless we get into tens of thousands territory, in which case I might make it 1,000 just to ease our budget a bit. But hey, you never know. The more successful you make us, the more I feel like we owe you, and we want to give back to you, not just the content, but also the giveaways too. From myself, Aaron Nix, and from Carl Wilkinson, thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch you very soon for more content. Wait for it. From the Wrestle Plug.